How's it going, everybody? I'm Creepshow Chris. Today, I am finally tackling the task of showing off my entire movie collection, which is sizable, and it's going to take me a minute, so you will see cuts in this video where I go to get more movies. But, let's go ahead and get into it, because this one's going to be a long one. I decided I would start off with all of my just collection ones, like multiple movies in one. First one I have, Alfred Hitchcock 20 movie classics. Alfred Hitchcock, The Legend Begins. Has The Cheney Vase, The Sorcerer's Apprentice, Blackmail, Champagne, Easy Virtue, The Farmer's Wife, Jamaica Inn, Juno and the Paycock, The Lady Vanishes, The Lodger, The Man Who Knew Too Much, The Manx Man, Number 17, Rich and Strange, The Ring, Sabotage, Secret Agent, The Skin Game, The 39 Steps, Young and Innocent. And Young and Innocent being the last one. I've not sat and watched all these. I'll just be honest about that. Don't know when I will. I know I need to because, it's classic thriller. This will be like a collection of horror and thriller and just some generally spooky movies. So, it's not all just strictly scare the life out of your horror. Next up, I have the 8-movie collection of Blumhouse. Little combo pack here. It has Get Out, Split, The Purge Anarchy, The Purge Election Year, Unfriended, Ouija Origin of Evil, or Ouija Origin of Evil, depending on how you want to say it. I've heard people pronounce it either way. And The Visit. Next up, we have the AMC Cult Classics, which is Night of the Living Dead 1968, the original, House on Haunted Hill 1958, the original, Carnival of Souls 1962, not Todd from 1961, Bluebeard from 1944, and the Chamber of Horrors from 1940. It's a pretty good little set to have came across. A lot of these I've actually been gifted. Personally, I like to get ones that are like, it's very specific about what they are. It's very specifically, if it's a collection, it's very specifically like the 5 films or 9 films or 10 films or whatever of that franchise. But some of these I was gifted a time here or there, and I'm not going to turn them down when it's a pretty heavy collection of movies. Next up, I have Christopher Walken, 8 film horror classics, another one I was gifted. It has Dracula 2000, The Prophecy, which I also have The Prophecy in another combo pack that is with other ones, but it's specifically listed with the other ones because it was a bigger franchise. Anyways, Dracula 2000, The Prophecy, Subspecies, Reflecting Skin, Castle Freak, Immortality, Dusk Till Dawn, From Dusk Till Dawn, and The Faculty. Next up, we have the Puppet Master and Killjoy set, which is Puppet Master, Puppet Master 2, Puppet Master 3, Toulon's Revenge, Puppet Master 4, Puppet Master 5, Puppet Master 6, Curse of the Puppet Master, Puppet Master 7, Retro Puppet Master 8, The Legacy, and Puppet Master 9, Axis of Evil. Then Killjoy, Killjoy 2, Deliverance from Evil, and Killjoy 3. Killjoy movies I actually like pretty well, I'm not going to lie. Now, when I get into these other ones, I'm going to break them down a little bit more. These are just a big set type situation where I'm not going to sit here and talk about every single film in the whole collection. I love the Puppet Masters. I do eventually want to collect the Puppet Master dolls. They're like $200 or $300 a piece for the really nice ones, unless you get some cheap little toy version. But I want the actual life-size replicas. So $200 or $300 a piece. It's down the line, just not anytime soon. Just a little double for you, but it's not 2 that are like in a franchise. So The People Under the Stairs and Shocker. I actually picked this up specifically because how much my stepmom has told me she absolutely loved The People Under the Stairs, and that's coming from somebody who doesn't really necessarily watch a lot of horror, so I knew it had to be pretty decent for her to like it. And of course it has the shocker. So that one's another Wes Craven. This one definitely, holy crap, is huge and ridiculous. So yeah, this is the Horror Classics 50 film franchise set. Not franchise set, but where did I get franchise from? 50. It's 50 films. Whatever. Hold still while I read all this because it's edge of the seat gripping. The Amazing Mr. X, The Ape, Atom Age Vampire, Attack of the Giant Leeches, The Bat, The Beast of Yucca Flats, Black Dragons, Bloodlust, Bluebeard, The Brain That Wouldn't Die, Carnival of Souls, The Corpse Vanishes, Creature from the Haunted Sea, Dead Men Walk, Dementia 13, Doomed to Die, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, The Fatal Hour, The Giant Gila Monster, The Gorilla, House on Haunted Hill, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Indestructible Man, Invisible Ghost, The Killer Shrews, King of the Zombies, The Last Man on Earth, Last Woman on Earth, The Little Shop of Horrors, The Mad Monster, Maniac, Metropolis, Monster from a Prehistoric Planet, The Monster Maker, The Monster Walks, The Night of the Living Dead, Nightmare Castle, Nosferatu, absolutely amazing, and I want a Nosferatu mask eventually. One Body Too Many, The Phantom from 10,000 Leagues, The Phantom of the Opera, Revolt of the Zombies, The Screaming Skull, A Shriek in the Night, Swamp Woman, The Terror, Tormented, The Vampire Bat, White Zombie, and The World Gone Mad. This is a great way to get classics in this set, because it's a lot of classic horror in one go. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot out there that are considered classics, but this is definitely like a great starting place to start a collection of classic horror, is to just find you some kind of huge film collection all in one and just go ahead and get it started. But okay, now let's move on to the A's and B's. I think there might be some C's. Anyways, I'm doing it shelf by shelf, so let's start with the first shelf now. Okay, now, starting with the numbers, we have 10 Cloverfield Lane. It's a pretty good movie. John Goodman's pretty dope. I realize I'll probably just move that back out of camera before it can even focus, but John Goodman is really good in this. Good man. But I definitely liked this one a lot better than I liked Cloverfield Paradox, but we'll get to that later. Next up, I'll go ahead and knock two out at one. 28 Days and 28 Weeks Later. Honestly, these were pretty freaking awesome. I loved these. Definitely kind of reinvented the zombie genre in a way at the time, which was getting kind of stale with the Resident Evil movies. I'll talk more about those later. Anyways, I do have these numerically ordered, even if they were part of like a bigger franchise. That's throughout all of them. I keep saying Anyways, Leatherface, stuff like that is with the L's, not with the T's for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Regardless, 3 from Hell. It was alright for what it was. Definitely wasn't as groundbreaking as House of a Thousand Corpses or The Devil's Rejects, and it obviously sucked pretty bad that Captain Spaulding couldn't have a bigger role due to Sid Haig's health, and actually Sid passed away before this came out. But I like him. I can't help it. I do want to get a Captain Spaulding tattoo right here on my arm eventually, but I keep pouring my money into masks and other collectibles. Anyways, 30 Days of Night. I kind of look at this one the way that I look at how 28 Days Later kind of rebooted the zombies this done with vampires for me. I felt like vampires were kind of getting a bit stale. Obviously the classics are classic, so they're never going to get stale in me. But there was a lot of kind of ones put out, and then when I watched this one, I was pretty hyped about vampires again. Another Rob Zombie film, 31. I didn't hate this. A lot of people did. Well, considerable amount of people did. I won't say, like, I'm not sure if it's like the majority of people hated it or what, but I found this pretty cool. It was definitely different. It's definitely Rob Zombie. There's no doubt about it. If you've watched any other Rob Zombie film, it's a lot of the same jokes and stuff. There's definitely some craziness to it, but it's, you know, his raunchy, crazy humor. And the last numbered one I have in my collection, 1408. I would venture to say that this movie is probably in my top 5 favorite movies ever. It's just awesome. I love this type of thriller, horror, whatever you want to call it. I know there's going to be a lot of debate of whether certain movies should be in horror or not, but this is probably one of my favorite movies. If you've not seen it, definitely look for it, find it, and watch it. Which, if you've not seen it, then you probably don't know who I am or anything, so whatever. Anyways, starting on the actual letters now instead of numbers. ABCs of Death. This is one that I did not think I would like, and then I watched it, and I actually liked the way it was set up. I do want to get ABCs of Death 2 eventually for my collection, which I do not have, but I have seen it back when it was on Netflix. I haven't watched ABCs of Death 2.5 or whatever they called it, which is just like you can rent it on YouTube for a couple bucks, and it's just the letter M or something. I think it was M. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't actually sat down to watch that. It's just a bit odd, the letter M being the only ones, but they explain it as so many people sent back M related ones that they figured, why not? Let's just put them all together. Anyways, Abbott and Costello Meet the Monsters. All the classic ones. Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man. Abbott and Costello Meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy. Which I think it might be the Mummy actually has a couple extras in it. I have sat down and watched these. I know one of them. Oh no, it's Meet Frankenstein, where they end up meeting Frankenstein, Dracula, and Wolfman. I love this type of stuff, the like cross genre with horror stuff. Some of my favorite ones are comedy horror, which I'll talk about later when I get to those specific ones. Next, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. It's an enjoyable watch. It's nothing that you absolutely have to see to be a horror fan or anything like that, but I found it enjoyable. Something that calls back to my childhood, and I credit as partially what makes me like horror so much, and the whole dark gothic aesthetic of things. Addams Family and Addams Family Values. If you grew up in the 90s and you did not see this, you lived under a freaking rock. I don't think there's much I could or need to say about this. I love it. Christopher Lloyd, freaking Asbestos kills me. But to go with that, I also have the entire Addams Family Complete series. The old black and white classic TV show. I was beyond excited when I found this. That was something that I wanted for a long time and finally got a hold of. Alright. The Alien quadrilogy. Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, and Alien Resurrection. There's not a lot I can say about Alien or Aliens. I mean, they're classic. Alien 3 being a little bit different. You know, the whole no gun thing, because Sigourney Weaver was anti-gun, so she didn't want any guns. It was the only way she would sign back on to do the third one. You know, that's whatever. But, yeah. And Alien Resurrection. I've watched all these. Alien Covenant, to go ahead and round out the Alien collection in the A's. I think I sat down and watched this one. When you've watched so many that you eventually forget. Just so many of them are so similar that it kind of burns together eventually. I'll go ahead and knock these out as a duo. You got Amityville, Amityville 2, and Amityville 3. Then you've got the remake of Amityville. Great for classic movies, 1979 and so on. I think 1979, 1982, and 1983. That's all I can really say about that one. Was not a huge fan. Being a fan of the original, they definitely, much as I love Ryan Reynolds, they could have picked somebody else to play in that movie. That would have been a little bit more suited for that movie. But that's a little critically, and I don't know. I just not the biggest fan in the world. Alright. This is 3, but I'll show 2 and then show the other. The Nightmare on Elm Street collection. I mean, birthed one of the biggest slashers ever. What else can be said? They're great. And Nightmare on Elm Street remake. I do believe that, let me make sure I'm saying his name right, if it's even listed on here. Yeah, Jackie Earle Haley. I believe he could have made a good Freddy. They tried to make it darker and less campy goofiness from the later sequels. But, oof. And they leaned really heavy into the child predator aspect of Freddy. That's kind of what made him likable in the original, was they didn't really openly go past the fact that he was a child murderer. They didn't really dip their toes into the predator aspect. But what can you do? It was made. Anyways, Army of Darkness. Classic. Definitely went away from the horror aspect, but it's still going to be in here because it's part of the Evil Dead franchise. Definitely went away from the horror aspect. Went a lot more goofy jokiness. Oh, good God. I forgot how many of these in a row there are. Only 3. Okay. Next up we have, completely in flip-flopped order, the Annabelle collection. The 3 Annabelles. Annabelle, Annabelle Creation, Annabelle Comes Home. I think they're in that order of release. I don't know. Creation and Comes Home I might have flipped. I'm not sure on when they released. But, I mean, the whole Conjuring franchise is pretty awesome. These are all part of the Conjuring franchise, so I can't really complain too much unless I delve into each one individually, and I'm not trying to make a 4-hour video here. So next up we have An American Werewolf in London. I still need to get some of the ones that are like this. I think what's it called, the Howling, or yeah, I think that's what it is, that are pretty much released around the same time and have similar effects. I won't say necessarily stories are exactly similar, because this one's got some crazy parts in its story, but I know the Howling, if I'm remembering correctly, was released about the same time and had a transformation scene that is also considered very groundbreaking for the time. Next up, we got A Quiet Place. I definitely liked this one. It's definitely a different aspect, you know, having to be quiet all the time, because even the slightest sound can bring monsters to you that can absolutely eviscerate you. I'm really excited to eventually get the sequel and watch it whenever it comes out. I don't think it's came out yet. I could be wrong on that. But next up, one that I thought I would absolutely hate until somebody made me sit down and watch it. As Above, So Below. I'm normally not the biggest fan of the whole found footage style of stuff, but this one, if you have not watched, I highly suggest you go watch. This one, a friend of mine actually told me about, and then ended up loaning me this for so long that it ended up just staying, and he said, don't worry about it, you can keep it, because he knew I collected horror movies. Which, freaking sticker right over top of it, but Automaton Transfusion, or Automaton Transfusion, or whatever. It's freaking good. It's definitely lower budget, but it's not bad. I mean, if you have it around, check it out. If you find it out somewhere for a cheap price, pick it up. Check it out. It's worth checking out, but I wouldn't necessarily say hunt it completely now. Okay, because this one is listed on the side of the DVD as AVP, Alien vs. Predator double feature. Alien vs. Predator and Alien vs. Predator Requiem. This was probably in its time something that I watched an awful lot of in Alien vs. Predator. Alien vs. Predator Requiem is hard to watch. Like, literally hard to watch because it is so dark. The Babadook. Some people love it, some people hate it. My wife couldn't sit through it all the way because it was messing with her anxiety. I don't hate it. I actually like it pretty well. I eventually want to get the Babadook tattooed on my inner left wrist. I eventually want to turn this whole daggum arm into nothing but horror, and most of my back and my left leg and part of my chest. Probably end up being more of my chest than I intended it to be. Anyways, next up we got Beetlejuice. Again, not super scary or nothing. I mean, scary for a little kid, but that hasn't seen anything scary. But I mean, it's spooky, so it's in this collection. Haven't actually watched this one yet, so I can't say much about it. But Blade, the Iron Cross. It's the newest of the Puppet Master franchise. I'm only missing one, which is The Littlest Reich, I think it's called. Next up, we have the Blade franchise. Blade, Blade 2, Blade Trinity, and Blade House of CHTHON. I don't know how the hell to say that, but I've never actually watched the fourth thing there. I don't even know what it is, really, but I know it's not Wesley Snipes' original. But it was in there, and that was a way I could get all three of the actual Blade movies. Next up, Blair Witch Project and the newest Blair Witch. I've watched the Blair Witch Project. I don't remember if I've watched Blair Witch. Might have to watch that just so that way I can say I have. Again, not the biggest fan of found footage, but the original Blair Witch is considered horror movie royalty. So, next up, haven't watched this, but it is Bloodfest. And it's made by Rooster Teeth, and it stars Barbara Dunkelman. Some other people I can't really see because freaking stickers on the front of it. But I've always been a huge Rooster Teeth fan, and Barbara Dunkelman being in it, I, of course, was like, well, I'm going to go out of my way to find that one. I actually found it at a daggum Dollar General for $2.95. Next up, I had never watched this one until I was hanging out at a haunted house that some friends ran, and they literally told me to watch it. and so I eventually found a copy and ended up loving it. Bone Tomahawk. Again, not necessarily the most horror movie in the world, but I mean, freaking, it's crazy. Like, and I mean, even the beginning having Sid Haig and David Arquette, I think it is. I mean, of course, I had to have it in my collection. Haven't watched it in a hot minute, though, so don't quote me on the Sid Haig and David Arquette. I know Sid Haig. I want to say it's David Arquette, if I'm remembering correctly. Anyways, the Boogeyman Collection. I've not watched these. Never watched any of them. But, I mean, when it's freaking Boogeyman, Boogeyman 2, Boogeyman 3, the original Boogeyman from 1980, and the Return of the Boogeyman, I'm not going to complain. That's 5 films to add to the horror collection. I do need to sit down and watch them. Might eventually. Next up we have The Boy. I still need to get the sequel to this. This was pretty cool. I've heard the sequel was crap, but this was pretty cool. I actually went and saw this one in theaters, and the twist at the end is pretty dope. It hooks you in thinking it's one type of movie when it's actually a completely different thing. So, next up we have The Cabin in the Woods. If you are a horror fan and have not watched this movie, go buy it right now. Order it off Amazon. Get it off eBay. Find it on some kind of streaming service. This is freaking awesome. There's literally only one complaint I have about this whole movie at all, and it's the same complaint everybody has. The whole thing with the bird and then the motorcycle or dirt bike. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen it, you'll understand pretty quickly. But I'm not going to go into it because I'm not trying to spoil any movies that somebody hasn't seen. Anyways, next up, the classic Candyman. I do want to eventually hunt down the sequels to this one to add to my collection. Just haven't done it yet. But absolutely, probably, if I had to say, one of my favorite horror movies that I remember from being a child. I remember seeing this and being so afraid of it. But, you know, our minds work different ways when we're younger. Next up, Cape Fear. Haven't actually sat down and watched this one. I know some people might hoot and holler about certain ones, but I saw it on somebody else's channel that I watched, and I guess it's more of a thriller for the most part, but it's a mixed bag in my collection. I try to keep ones that are obviously not anything horror, thriller, spooky, anything like that out of my collection until I watch them. That one I've heard is at least decent on the thriller part, so we'll see. Next up we have the original Carrie and the remake Carrie. Obviously I prefer the original. I mean, if you haven't seen them, what are you doing on my channel? This channel is all about stuff to do with horror. Carrie is one of the most well-known and big, popular horrors ever made. Just saying. Next up... Oh, okay. Well, the remake of Child's Play. The rest of the Child's Plays are in a Chucky combo pack, so they're listed a little later. I mean, it's alright. I didn't hate it. Didn't absolutely love it, but I didn't hate it. I prefer the original. Most people prefer the originals on most of these, so. And next up, we have Children of the Corn, and then a Children of the Corn and Halloween combo set. I've got the rest of the Halloweens later, so I'm not even going to mess with those in this one, but I've got the original Children of the Corn by itself, then I've got Children of the Corn 2, The Final Sacrifice, Children of the Corn 3, Urban Harvest, Children of the Corn 4, The Gathering, Children of the Corn 5, Fields of Terror, Children of the Corn 666, Isaac's Return, Children of the Corn Revelation, and then the 3 Halloweens that are in here, which is, yeah, going to be talked about later when I get to the Halloween section. So, got those. And one of the last two here, Christine, Steelbook Edition. I haven't taken it out of package. I have seen it before, but I've kept this in plastic. I think it's got a little dent right here. Yeah. But I've obviously seen Christine before. I absolutely love it, and I do want to get a replica of the Plymouth Fury eventually to add to this room. But yeah, definitely love that one, and loved finding it in a steelbook form. And then to round off this shelf before I start another one, and you'll see the edit and all that jazz, the Chucky collection, which is Child's Play 2, Child's Play 3, Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky, and The Curse of Chucky. Yeah, he's probably one of the more known. In the slasher genre, he's definitely up there with the Freddys and Jasons and all that. And he is the easiest to find freaking collectibles for. I have so freaking many, it's not even funny. But, obviously love the whole series, which there will be more of after this cut. Alright, as y'all can probably tell by the change of shirt, my camera battery died. Haven't got a spare battery yet. So, this is tomorrow. Anyways, second shelf. Cloverfield and Cloverfield Paradox. The original Cloverfield, pretty awesome. I'm not the biggest on found footage, but wasn't horrible. Cloverfield Paradox, not a good movie. I haven't opened this copy because I've seen it once. I don't want to see it again. Seen it digitally before I bought it. Yeah, not good. Next up, try to get these in the right spots. The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2. Both absolutely amazing movies, and I keep just being surprised on how much they can take from just these movies and expand the entire Conjuring universe, if you will. But I absolutely love the Conjuring movies. Next up, another one that's kind of like, why is it really in there? Because it's not horror. So I said that it's a little bit of mix of spooky. Corpse Bride. Not the best Tim Burton, but not the worst Tim Burton. I actually need to get a different copy of this, a better copy of this. This one got secondhand. It's a little tore up looking. Plays fine, but the case is tore up. Next up, The Craft. Probably one of the better witch-related, if it will even focus. I can't tell if it's even focused. But, probably one of the better witch-related things. It's definitely, you know, very 90s. That's for sure. But I don't hate it. After that, we have Crawl. It's pretty good, actually. I really did like this one. I mean, it could have been just another, you know, Anaconda, Piranha, any of those ones. But it was actually done pretty decent. Wasn't like, you know, miraculous superpower type animal thing. Anyways, the Crazies remake. I liked this at the time that it came out. It was definitely different. It could have just been another zombie flick, but it's like a weird in-between of zombie and government and all kinds of weird crap put together. It's pretty good. If you haven't seen it, watch it. I'm sure you've seen it if you're watching my channel. Next up, actually, we'll do the two of them. Creepshow and Creepshow 2. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of them. Hence why my channel name is Creepshow Chris. I mean, they're good at what they are. There ain't no other way to say it about these movies. They're no serious, like, crazy, over the top. It's over the top in a campy way, but I kind of like some camp with my movies, you know? Next up, we have Cult of Chucky. I gotta turn off the face tracking crap. I know it's supposed to make all this look better, which you can't do much with what I got here, but it constantly makes it hard to focus on these if my face is showing it all. Anyways, Cult of Chucky. It was alright. It was definitely different, to say the least. The Curse of La Llorona. No. And that's all I'm going to say there. This one is Tim Burton. Brain lapsed for a second. Another Tim Burton one. Dark Shadows. Not the best. Definitely closer to the worst, in my opinion, of the Tim Burton style. I definitely like the more, Nightmare on Elm Street type stuff. Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare Before Christmas. Brain doesn't work functionally. Okay. Dawn of the Dead. This is the... What year? 2004. Dawn of the Dead. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the front and seen the actors, and we're like, oh, that one's the one from 2004. I'm usually pretty good at remembering that type of stuff. But it requires sleeping on a regular basis to have that good of memory currently. Dead Silence. Really liked this one. It surprised me. I thought it was going to be kind of crap. Then I watched it. It wasn't. Yeah, that's about all I can say. It's a good movie. Descent. I watched quite a few like this. The Descent, The Cave. I feel like there was a couple others I've watched. But I've always liked the claustrophobic movies. Like, I'm a little bit claustrophobic myself, so I've always found them kind of cool. I've seen this one before, found it on Blu-ray for really cheap, so I picked it up. Haven't taken it out of package and watched it again. But The Devil Inside. Not that you can see it all because of the freaking stickers. That's why I love having an FYE near me. $3.99. Not bad, not bad. Alright. The Devil's Rejects. The more crime thriller variation of the Rob Zombie movies. Well, that is until the end, but... Or not the end, but the part with the... Yeah, anyways. Definitely love Rob Zombie stuff. Not the hugest fan when he takes other people's properties and makes them Rob Zombified, but, yeah, we'll get to that when we get to that. Dr. Sleep. Obviously, great movie. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Donnie Darko. This is one that I know so many people say is like so awesome. And I've tried. I've really tried multiple times. I don't think I've ever sat through it in one sitting. I've always had to pause it, go do stuff, come back. I've got a short attention span, and this definitely takes some parts where it decides to really stretch out anything important happening. Classic right here. Bram Stoker's Dracula. The Blu-Ray Collector's Edition. This, I mean... What can I say about this movie that hasn't been said by everybody else? It's freaking awesome. It's classic, great, theatrical, amazing, whatever. It's good. Watch it. Don't watch it. If you're here, you've probably watched it. Drag Me to Hell. This one was pretty freaking wild when I first saw it. It's been a while since I've actually sat down and watched it, but I thought it was pretty crazy. Love how on the front, from Sam Raimi, director of Spider-Man and the Evil Dead trilogy. Because, you know, horror movie, let's reference his superhero stuff. Never mind that he's, like, freaking directed the Evil Deads. That's like royalty right there, immediately. Just the fact that he done the original Evil Deads. Anyways. Edward Scissorhands. Grew up on it, love it. Pretty much everybody loves it. It's probably one of my favorite Tim Burton ones. Evil Dead remake, still in plastic. I've watched it. I just actually found this one maybe a couple months ago, hence why it's still in plastic. It's worth watching. But, yeah. And then Evil Dead, the original. I've watched this one several times. 100% love this movie. I prefer the original over the remake. Most people do with that specific movie, so it's not really that big of a shocker. The Exorcism of Emily Rose. It was alright. I think when I first watched this, and what's put me off from watching it again, is I watched a lot of the Exorcism of so-and-so, Exorcism of so-and-so, Exorcism of so-and-so, because there are so many different ones like that don't really do anything different. So maybe I'm just a little jaded on those, but The Exorcist, the extended director's cut, Walmart's Monster Mayhem line. I mean, again, if you're here, you know what that is, and I don't have to say anything about it. If you're here and you don't know what that is, how did you get here? Who are you? Who sent you? Please leave. Don't leave, actually. Please keep watching. Anyways, Exorcist 3. I do want to eventually get all of the Exorcists. It's one of those, when you have as many as I have, you intend to complete collections, and then you never really get around to completing them for like a year. This one I found at a daggum pawn shop, beat to crap, in those old plastic crappy. Ugh, I hate these. Sound like you're freaking breaking something just to open them. Anyways, Exorcist at the beginning wasn't really that amazing. Of course, usually most of the sequels down the line aren't. Which, it's, at least as far as I remember, it wasn't that amazing. It's been a while since I've tried watching it. Who knows, maybe I could go back and watch some of these and end up being blown away. Now we're on to the F's. I put this one in F because it's the Fallen Angel trilogy. Legion, Priest, Gabriel. Legion definitely has some creepier moments. I'm a little jaded to the whole getting scared stuff with most movies. I don't know if I've burned my senses on it or what it is, but yeah. Anyways, Final Destination complete film, or complete collection, film collection. 1, 2, 3, The Final Destination, and then 5. I actually saw the 5th one on my 21st birthday. Hungover as all hell. Or no. Yeah. Anyways. Brain stopped functioning. Again. Yeah, I saw it hungover as all hell. With the stomach issues and the whole nine. Watched it in 3D. That was fun. The Fly. This is the, what is it? What year? It's the David Cronenberg one. I don't remember what year it is, and I can't necessarily find it pretty quickly on here. But yeah, definitely awesome. If you like body horror, I like body horror. So it's awesome to me. Now this is the, whatever year, 1989 Fly 2. It's another one of those that I continue to intend to complete, but haven't. I know there's like a combo pack at Walmart right now. I ought to just go freaking get it. Just bite the bullet, but it cost half as much as a really awesome mask to add to the collection, so yeah, no. Next up, Freaky. Yeah, I actually liked this one. The girl here, Catherine Newton, believe she played in Supernatural, if I'm remembering correctly. I could be completely wrong with that. Why did my freaking light just go off? I'll worry about it getting turned on here in a little while. Next up, Friday the 13th. This is the 8-film set. Friday the 13th Uncut, Friday the 13th Part 2, Friday the 13th Part 3 3D, Friday the 13th The Final Chapter, Friday the 13th Part 5 A New Beginning, Friday the 13th Part 6 Jason Lives, Part 7 The New Blood, Part 8 Jason Takes Manhattan. I love the Jason movies. I know they get crappy and campy and goofy and just don't make any sense, but I love them. And then we've got Friday the 13th, the remake from, I do believe, 2009, sorry. I'm assuming. It could be 08 and they just have it listed as 2009 on the back for the year of the copyright. I could be completely wrong. Next up, Ghostbusters 1 and 2. And while I'm at it, actually, Ghostbusters Answer the Call. 1 and 2, absolute classics. 2 could have been wrote a little better. It goes back to one specific scene that sums up my opinion on Ghostbusters Answer the Call versus Ghostbusters 1 and 2. And Ghostbusters 1, when they first introduced the proton pack, you know, it's a simple elevator ride, simple conversation. Alright, we're going to go use it now. Ghostbusters Answer the Call. They introduce the proton pack, do the little conversation, and then it's like a 5-minute segment of them being out in the alleyway riding it around like a daggum balloon, you know? It's more down to the modern era of riding. I'm always going to prefer the original. But it was a pretty decent movie. Let me see here. Chris Hemsworth was freaking hilarious in it, and anything that Melissa McCarthy is in, I've always found hilarious. She's probably one of my favorite comical actors, comedians, comedy actors, whatever you want to call it. Next up, we have Ghost Ship. When you go back and watch it, it's not as good. But if you can resist watching it again, the nostalgia of this movie is awesome if you grew up with it. I was really hyped for this. I think it done okay. I have heard the second one is horrible, and that is the reason I have not watched it. Goosebumps with Jack Black. I'm a huge Goosebumps fan. I used to have a collection so freaking huge it wasn't even funny. I wish I still had all the original ones I have. I have started collecting them again. A little eBay purchase here or there every once in a while when I'm not buying masks or movies or yada 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 yada, all the other crap I got in here. But I definitely think this one was decent for, you know, somebody who's used to, you know, R-rated movies with the blood and guts and gore and scary atmospheres and everything. For it being a kid's thing, from my perspective, it was entertaining. Gremlins and Gremlins 2, the new batch. I mean, again, this is a classic one. Even horror fans don't, like non-horror fans, even know these movies. I mean, there's not much I can say about them other than I like them, obviously. Okay, here's a nice little lineup for us here. I think they're out of order, aren't they? Yep. Try that again. Grudge, Grudge 2, Grudge 3. This is one of those that obviously the originals were better, and this one didn't mess with me that much. Even as a younger kid-ish, when I was like, I think I was like 12 when this came out, if the date on the back is right. The Ring messed with me a lot more than The Grudge did at that age. Of course, that was well before I became the jaded old freaking movie person that I am now. Alright. Halloween collection, complete collection up until this one came out, and the 2018, something like that, 2018, 2019, something. But yeah, John Carpenter's original Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, Halloween The Curse of Michael Myers, Halloween H2O, Halloween Resurrection, Halloween 2007, and Halloween 2, 2009. Halloween 2007 and Halloween 2, 2009, they're very much Rob Zombie flicks, which is kind of odd juxtapositioned against, you know, the original Halloweens, and especially the second one, which is just the Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is even more of a Rob Zombie film that's just kind of lightly tossed in some Halloween, but you know, whatever. I like Halloween, no doubt, no question about it. And if you're just watching the Rob Zombie's Halloweens from the perspective of understanding that it's Rob Zombie's take on Halloween, they're good movies, because they're very Rob Zombie movies. But if you're talking the classic look and feel of all the Halloweens, they're horrible. And then the last one, to finish off Shelf 2, Halloween Town and Halloween Town 2, Calabar's Revenge. Obviously, if you grew up in the 90s, early 2000s, these were on Disney Channel every single year. So when I found them on DVD, this was probably, even before watching, you know, any of the scarier movies, this was probably the first one that got me into the whole Halloween vibe more than, you know, necessarily the scariness or liking horror. So they're classics, they gotta be here. Alright, there'll be another cut, and we'll be on to shelf number 3. Alright, shelf 3, H's through I don't remembers. So let's go. Yep, these two go together, well, as much as they can. Hannibal Lecter, Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal and Manhunter, and then Hannibal Rising. Haven't watched this one yet. Grew up on these. Absolutely love Hannibal Lecter. I really want to get a high quality Hannibal Lecter mask eventually for my collection of stuffs, because I have a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff that I want to get. Happy Death Day, and Happy Death Day to You. I've watched Happy Death Day. I have not watched Happy Death Day to You. Happy Death Day was pretty cool. I don't know about Happy Death Day to You, because I've not watched it. Oh yeah. Probably one of my favorite in the modern era of stuff, even though I'm a slasher fan deeply. Probably my favorite genre within the horror world. So these are freaking awesome, and I love that I have a mask of this. Anyways, Hatchet 2 and Hatchet 3. All I need is Victor Crowley. You won't see the Victor Crowley movie later on in my collection, because that's the only one I don't own of that franchise. Another franchise that I intend to eventually complete. Alright, Hellfest. Didn't hate this as much as I thought I would. Kind of worried that Bloodfest, even though it's slightly different, is going to just turn into a very similar feeling movie, because it's a festival type situation. But eventually I'll get around to watching Bloodfest, and then I'll be able to tell for sure. It's kind of cool that Tony Todd cameoed in this, even though it was just a short little bit. But yeah, I liked that one, honestly. Let's see how many of these. Yeah, nice little size. Alright, Quickfire. Hellraiser. 20th Anniversary Edition. Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. Then I have this combo pack that's a bunch of Hellraisers and Prophecies. But it is Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. which one comes next? Hellraiser Bloodline, Hellraiser Inferno, Hellraiser Hellseeker, Hellraiser Deader, and Hellraiser Hellworld. And then it's also the Prophecy, Prophecy 2, Prophecy 3, The Ascent, the Prophecy Uprising, and the Prophecy Forsaken. And then this abysmal abomination of a movie, Hellraiser Judgment. Holy crap. It is crap. But it's a Hellraiser movie, so of course I spent my money on it, bought it, and have it on a shelf to never be watched again because it's really that bad. Hereditary. Great movie. It's definitely of a non-slasher modern movie. Hereditary and Midsommar. You know, I love both of those. They're both great movies. Alright. Hills Have Eyes and Hills Have Eyes 2, unrated. These are the remakes. I don't think I have the originals in any kind of combo set, which I showed those off at the beginning. Pretty sure they weren't in there. I do need to eventually get copies of the original Hills Have Eyes 1 and 2. I think there was only 2 in the original run. Maybe there's only 1 and I'm just completely forgetting it. Lack of sleep. Anyways. Hocus Pocus. Another one that, you know, obviously very kiddie. Wasn't the biggest fan of this growing up. Just wasn't really my thing. I liked, you know, Halloween Town a little bit more than I liked this one. Plus, when you started out reading Goosebump books, this is child's play to you. Even though you're a child. Anyways. Hostel. Hostel 2. A lot of people hate on these because they're so, you know, whatever. They're so gory and it's too much. Whatever, they're freaking cool. I don't have Hostel 3, which I know it wasn't as much associated with this, you know, with director Eli Roth. But, you know, eventually I'll get it to complete the collection. House and House 2. Bought these, been meaning to watch them. Have yet to get around to watching them. I know they're just, from my understanding, they're just campy, goofy, nothing like groundbreaking, but I mean, I still want to watch them. House of a Thousand Corpses. My favorite out of this line of movies. It's hard to beat the original, and it has more of a, you know, the haunted house kind of theme and all that. Although I do love the second one for having a lot more Captain Spaulding. But as far as overall movie, that's my favorite. As far as Captain Spaulding, or like character specific, Captain Spaulding's always been my favorite out of the entire movie. Gonna get a tattoo of him right here eventually. That one's my favorite story-wise. Devil's Rejects is my favorite character-wise. Just because you get more. House of Wax. The remake from whenever it was from. It's the one that's got Sam Winchester, Jared Padalecki in it. I like it for that, but the fact that Paris Hilton's in it, I never much cared for her acting. I don't think a lot of people did, but, you know. It was kind of funny when they had her in the episode of Supernatural where it was in a house of wax. And, like, it was just... It was funny. Anyways. House on Haunted Hill and Return to the House on Haunted Hill combo pack. This is the 1999 House on Haunted Hill. And then the sequel to it, which was The Return. Haven't watched them. Bought it secondhand. Haven't even taken them out and watched them. I actually sat around and finally watched all these the whole way through, and holy crap, do they get bad. I Know What You Did Last Summer trilogy. I Know What You Did Last Summer. I still know what you did last summer, and I'll always know what you did last summer. And holy crap, is the third one horrible. I mean, the second one I wouldn't necessarily consider amazing or anything. But They are... The first one, it's a stretch to say that it was anything miraculous, but whatever. I'm not here to critique every single film completely. I mean, yeah, I am, kind of. I mean, that's kind of why I'm here. Anyways, Insidious, Insidious 2, Insidious 3, and Insidious The Last Key. Yeah, said that without looking. I like these. I like these a lot, actually. I consider these probably some of my favorite of the modern era. They actually, like I said, I'm a little jaded and blah, blah, blah. Those actually made me feel a little uneasy, surprisingly. I guess it's just the whole feeling and design and the sound and everything just put together. I actually was kind of like, whoa. I actually felt it a little bit. Interview with a Vampire. I mean, it's been a while since I've watched it, but from what I can remember of it, I liked it pretty well for what it is. It's not like overtly scary or anything, but it wasn't horrible. Alright. Stephen King's Original It miniseries on DVD. Pretty good. I prefer the sequels as far as overall looks, but the nostalgia of the first one. Which, or not sequels, but the remakes, I guess, because it's these two. Split into two. Same story, but split into two and done more in depth, I guess. Obviously, the looks and everything are better in this. Bill Skarsgård kills it as Pennywise, but Tim Curry's Pennywise, just being the classic Pennywise, holds a nostalgic place in my heart. So, getting there. The rest of the Friday the 13th collection, Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X, the Jason double feature. I mean, by this point, they were getting pretty crappy. Although, as everybody loves, the freaking, liquid nitrogen or whatever. The freezing head smash kill from Jason X. And, of course, Jason Goes to Hell, the Freddy Krueger glove coming out and grabbing the mask through the sand. You know, setting up freaking forever later for Freddy versus Jason. Jaws 2, Jaws 3, and Jaws the Revenge. God, my eyesight's getting bad. These are awesome. I mean, well, this one's awesome. These are meh, but nothing can beat the classic. I mean, let's just be honest about it. I'm not going to say a lot about these ones. I will say that I grew up watching them, and those, well, obviously not the third one here, but I grew up watching the original one, first and second one. That was well before I knew anything about the director or what he done. There's a nostalgic place in my heart for him, but there's also a just completely hatred for what the director done for them. And I'm not going to give him much more time than that. Jeepers Creepers 1, 2, and 3. Gone. Next up, Jigsaw. Again, I love the... Which, not again, because I haven't got to the S's yet, but I love the Saw franchise. Admittedly, there are a freaking lot of them. I'm excited for Spiral. But it's a hard story to follow sometimes, but I do like... I'm a gore guy. I love gory movies, so I've seen this one multiple times. It's still in the plastic, but I've watched it. I watched it in theaters. I watched it... I rented it on... I think I rented it from a Redbox when it first came out or some crap like that. Watched it a couple times then. Okay. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. This is the weirdest, goofiest, most epically awesome, campiest, most weird movie, in my opinion. It is nothing but like 1980s camp. Yeah, 88, I think is what it says there. Yeah, 1988. It is weird, but I love it. And I don't believe anybody thinks it's a masterpiece as far as, you know, on the same aspect as something like The Green Mile or Forrest Gump or anything like that. It's obviously what it is. But it's one of those, like, it's a B movie, but it's amazing. And it's something you absolutely have to watch. Krampus. This, it's funny, when this came out, I saw it in theaters, thought it was freaking hilarious, and it quickly became, along with It's a Wonderful Life, which is something me and my dad have always watched together on Christmas every single year, this became one of the very next ones that I watch from the release of it coming out. It's PG-13, so they can only get away with so much, but it's still freaking cool, in my opinion. I've always loved the lore of Krampus and all that stuff, so trying to make sure I don't need to grab multiples whenever I take a second to grab one. Last House on the Left. This is the Wes Craven original from 1972. Do I not have the... I've seen the sequel. Or the remake. I don't guess I have it. I thought I had it. Something I need to put on my list to get the remake of. This one is one of those where it's really screwed up and everything, and if you're not just kind of able to tone it out and just kind of go into like it's a movie mode, then you're probably not going to want to watch this one, because some pretty bad stuff happens, especially if you've had bad things happen in your past. Next up, didn't know about this one. Friend introduced me to it and actually gave me this copy. And I'm a huge fan of the actor. Have been since I was a kid. As soon as I show this, you'll know exactly why, or who. And you'll pretty much be able to infer exactly why. The Lazarus Project with good old Paul Walker. Rest in peace. Yeah, I didn't know anything about this one. Had never heard of it, even though I loved the Fast and Furious franchise growing up. And then a friend was like, if you like that so much, have you ever checked this one out? And knew I was a horror nut. Ended up giving me a copy because they had a spare. And if you've not watched this, it's actually worth checking out. I would suggest it highly. Oh, God. Let me make sure. Yep. Wrong way. Leprechaun. Leprechaun 2, Leprechaun 3, Leprechaun 4 in Space, Leprechaun in the Hood, Leprechaun Back to the Hood, Leprechaun Origins, and Leprechaun Returns. Nobody can beat Warwick Davis in the originals. Leprechaun Origins is trash. I was hoping that it would be good because Hornswoggle was in it. But, I mean, they didn't even try to do something like Leprechaun Returns. They're obviously not to be taken seriously. They've been goofy from the get. I don't remember if I've watched this one. That could be good, that could be bad. If I have watched it, and I don't remember watching it, it's probably a bad sign. If I haven't watched it, then I need to. Alright, Leatherface 3. Or Leatherface Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. But because it's called Leatherface, it's in the L's, not in the T's. And Leatherface, the newer remake from 2017, looks like. This one, the fact that they tried to make it a switch up at the last minute, a twist. If you've seen it, you know. If you haven't, go watch it. kind of ticked me off with this one. This first one was good. It just keep getting weirder and weirder and weirder. I know this one was in, one of these two was in a different, one of the multi-movie packs, but it's cool that I have it even on this little thin DVD. It just made me happy that I have it this way too. But we've got the Jack Nicholson Little Shop of Horrors, and then we have the remake of Little Shop of Horrors. They are great. They're classic. I feel like I'm saying that about 1,000 times. They're funny. I don't know what else I can say. Go ahead and knock that one out. Lords of Salem. If you don't like a religious basis in movies, this one's probably not for you. But I don't hate it. I much prefer the Devil's Rejects House of Thousand Corpses line opposed to some of his other works, but it's not horrible. Lost Boys and Lost Boys the Tribe. I don't even remember where I got the Tribe from. I don't remember where I got either one of these from, to be quite honest. I know obviously this one's classic and it had to be in the collection, there's no question. I don't remember when I came across this one, how I came across this one. I'm pretty sure it just showed up in my freaking DVD room one day, like somebody came over and just set it there, that way I'd have to take it. Because it's not, definitely not anything that I would consider great. If I'm remembering correctly, because again, I've watched it one time and refused to watch it again. Somebody's going to be in my comments eventually somewhere down the line if I ever make it big, like, can't believe you don't like Lost Boys the Tribe, do you even know what you're talking about? Well, maybe I'll rewatch it before then and completely change my opinion. Ma, haven't even opened this. I should. From the producers of Get Out and something. Stuck behind a sticker. I can't tell. Haven't watched it. Eventually plan to watch it. Certain ones, just you see all the buzz going on YouTube and everybody talking about them, so you jump to those first. I bought that one, intended to watch it. I think my wife watched it and said she didn't much care for it or something like that. So that's why I never watched it, or maybe she said she didn't care, or she did like it, and our opinions are occasionally different, so then I was like, well, then I'm not going to watch it because I'm not going to like it. I don't know. Mama. Do believe I watched this one in theaters. Yep. Scary Movie 5 ripped this off in a funny way. And last of this shelf, Midsommar. Another one of those, like I was saying with Hereditary, I love these. I mean, it's the same director, but I definitely like the whole vibe he's going with. It's different. It's not necessarily just your either this or Hereditary, or neither one just your run-of-the-mill same thing. But that does it for shelf number 3. About to crack shelf number 4, and then there's not even a complete shelf number 5. It's not completely full, so we're getting there. Number 4. If you haven't seen this movie, I suggest you go watch it. It is somewhat based in the local area-ish. Somewhat. It's based in Appalachia. I'm from West Virginia. We're Appalachian. Anyways, Mine 9. It's very much claustrophobic. It's about a mine disaster, which there has been. Some of those happen local-ish. If you haven't watched it, check it out. It's pretty cool. Classic. Misery. I mean, everybody knows about that one. The Mist. Probably one of the craziest endings ever. Not ever, but it's definitely got a wild ending. I'll leave it at that. Much closer to local area. The Mothman Prophecies. I live about an hour from Point Pleasant, where this is based upon. It's actually somewhat based on true events. You know, there was a actual bridge collapse and made people see stuff and all that, and or supposedly people seen stuff. It depends on if you believe in cryptids. I've got a Mothman tattoo on my leg. I'm a fan. There ain't no other way to say it. My Bloody Valentine, the original, and the 3D remake with Dean Winchester in it. Same year as the Friday the 13th remake with Sam Winchester. Obviously, Sammy got the better end of that stick. Because this one was pretty much unanimously shit on. I actually went and saw it in theaters with my dad and liked it. You know, at the time I wasn't as well versed. But if out of all of these, I had to pick one that's my guilty pleasure to like, because I still do like it, regardless of how well versed I am in horror or whatever have you now, I still like My Bloody Valentine 3D. I like it even more now that I'm a huge fan of Supernatural. So, let's see here. Night of the Living Dead. This is the colorful remake of the 1968. So, I mean, I've seen the 1968 original, but this one, let's just be quite honest, I haven't watched this one, so I don't know if it's the original just made with color or if it's any new dawn in horror movie making. No, this is the remake. Okay, this is the 1990s remake, if I can figure out the year. 1990 exactly. But I've not actually sat down and watched this remake. I'll just be quite honest about it. I watched the 1968 original. So, excuse me for my ignorance on that one a little bit. Nightmare Before Christmas. Again, spooky. Classic. Grew up on it. All that. This one a lot of people don't like. And I loved when I first watched it. I still to this day like it. It's probably because I like what it's based upon. I actually really get into what it's based upon. Not that I think it's telling me some otherworldly vision. I don't believe in none of that type of crap. I just think it's cool how coincidental everything is. The number 23, Jim Carrey. I like the whole numerology aspect. I've always thought that stuff was cool. I know it's from my belief standpoint, it's all a bunch of made up bull crap. That's just how I feel about it. But to each their own. I don't believe, your signs tell you what type of person you are. My wife does. It's just not something that I believe in. I don't believe that numbers predestine you to be this, that, or the third. But I find it cool. All the little things that can add up to the number 23 or, this number or that number or whatever. I think it's cool. To each their own. The Nun. Yeah. It's entertaining, I guess. Could have been done a lot better. Yeah. Anyways. Oculus. It's been a while since I've watched this one. I remember liking it. I'm gonna have to rewatch a couple of these just to see if they're still as good as I think they might have been. The Omen box set. This is the Omen Collector's Edition. Damien, Omen 2. Omen 3, The Final Conflict. Omen 4, The Awakening. And 2006 Omen Remake. I like the classic better than the original, or I like the classic better than the original. I like the classic better than the remake, but the remake even wasn't that horrible. It's definitely just got the spookier feel in the original, I think. Specifically the kid. I think the kid in the original is way spookier than the kid in the remake. But, yeah. This was another one of them that I just randomly found the whole freaking box set at Walmart, and I was like, haha, yep, I'm buying that. Of course, that was before I was really collecting masks. I've had that for a good while. Next up, Orphan. Not the biggest fan. Pan's Labyrinth. Love the visuals. Not a big fan of reading while I'm watching a movie, because it feels like I'm not concentrating enough on the up and down. And if I'm remembering correctly, this is all in German? Question mark? I think. It's been a while since I've sat down and actually watched it. I've just watched a lot of YouTube videos about his work, about Guillermo del Toro, if I'm remembering correctly, done all the stuff in this one. I want to say it was him, because every time you see, yep, Guillermo del Toro directed that one. And I know it's, you know, I'm an American, blah blah blah, we don't learn second languages like most of the world does, whatever. If I don't understand the language and I have to sit there and read it, like everybody loved Passion of the Christ when it first came out. I didn't, because I didn't want to sit there and have to read it and miss stuff, because I'm a slow reader. I don't have the biggest IQ, and I am man enough to admit that. Paranormal Activity. This is Paranormal Activity 1, 2, 3, 4, The Marked Ones, and The Ghost Dimension. Found footage, not the biggest fan of it, so that one, you know, I'm glad they were popular and it helped to bring people into the horror genre. That's about the most I can say for them. I mean, just not my cup of tea. Next up, we have the original and remake of Pet Sematary. Most remakes kind of tick me off. It's like the maniacal cinephile says, in his intro to his Boots to Reboots, they did it all right. They did it right already. You can't hold a candle to them. It's the way I feel on a lot of things. This one was pretty decent, I guess, but it pissed me off because it switched so many things up. And it wasn't like, you know, it's one of those double-sided coins, you know what I mean? Or double-edged sword, whatever you want to call it, however you want to say that. If you don't change up enough, people are like, why did you remake it? If you change up too much, people are like, you ruined it by remaking it. I didn't like that they switched so much in this one. Honestly, I would have probably never even ventured into remaking it. But, you know, I'm also not the one who makes millions of dollars by making movies, so whatever, what can you say? Phantasm, complete collection. Phantasm, Phantasm 2, The Ball is Back, Phantasm 3, Lord of the Dead, Phantasm 4, Oblivion, and Phantasm 5, Ravager. Phantasm 1 was good. it quickly tends to delve into what the absolute shit is going on here. Yeah. But the first one is worth watching for sure. I don't remember if the second one was or wasn't. They kind of all blend together to me. Nothing on them. It's just the way my head functions. The original, Psycho, and then Psycho 2, 3, and 4, The Beginning. Classic, one of the best Alfred Hitchcock movies ever, and a lot of people consider it one of the best movies ever. I haven't sat down and watched a single one of these because I'm so just worried that they are going to be absolutely horrible and make me not look back fondly on Psycho. But I bought them because they go on the shelf and look pretty. Here we go again with another one of those that there's like multiples. Predator, Predator 2, Predators, and The Predator. This is one of those where, regardless of how weird the later ones get, I like them because I've always liked the Predator. I want to get this really weird Predator tattoo that I saw online. Alien and Predator doing like a yin and yang thing. It's pretty cool, but you know, that's way in the future. Next up, we have Poltergeist. Just to be certain, yep, 1982. This is the original Poltergeist, not the remake. Just wanted to make sure of that before I quoted it as the wrong one. It's definitely a classic. Like I've said a million times, it's classic. You can't screw with it. I don't even remember if I ever ended up getting around to watching the remake. Unless I'm completely wrong and there is no remake. I'm pretty sure there is. Again, brain not working very well. Prometheus. I mean, it was decent, I guess. I didn't like that it was just Alien all over again, but without being Alien, because it's just a bunch of knockoff Alien. That's what it feels like to me. It feels like somebody was like, man, that Alien movie was good. Let's make something exactly like it, but not quite it. Prometheus. Psycho Goreman. I haven't actually sat down and watched this yet. This is one that I definitely want to because I've heard it is campy, goofy, B-movie, but it knows it's a B-movie and it doesn't take itself too seriously, which I like a good laugh movie once in a while in the horror genre, so. Classic. I could try to talk about it, but it's classic. Just trying to get through these without boring you to death by talking about every single one of them. It's a classic. I love it. I eventually want to get a really cool pumpkin head tattoo eventually down the line. So I now realize this one should have been listed way back in the F's. But the first Purge. Going by Purge, it's in the P's, but going by F first, it's way later than it should be. Let me see if I can even recall which one this is. This is the first one, where the dude's all crazy and has the weird eyes and all the face tats and just goes all... Yeah, okay. This is the point where they started getting kind of... They're still alright. I think the second Purge was probably my favorite because it was out into the opening of the world. But yeah. Eventually I want to collect all the Purge masks, but that's going to be a lot for another day. Resident Evil Apocalypse, Resident Evil Extinction, Afterlife, and Retribution. I thought Resident Evil was freaking awesome when I was a kid. The original Resident Evil. Don't think I've watched all of the sequels. I've got them, just haven't actually sat down and watched them. But I know the original one, I thought it was great as a kid. Rewatched it as an adult, and you can definitely tell that it's a product of its time. Return of the Living Dead. This one, there are quite a few masks that I want from this. I've got so freaking many. I'm still waiting on one to show up. That's supposed to show up today at some point, but I don't know if it even will. But yeah, this is perfectly encapsulates B-movie. Funny, not taking itself too serious, but also not being a spoof. Okay. The Ring and The Ring 2. I found these scarier than The Grudge. I remember going and seeing this one on a date in like 6th grade and pretending to be asleep because I was afraid of being afraid in front of the girl I was dating at the time, and her thinking I was weak or whatever, because you know that's how male masculinity works. Rocky Horror Picture Show. Didn't ever watch this in high school or middle school or anything, but watched it as an adult. Freaking Tim Curry is just... he's a great actor. I don't care what you say about him. He is freaking great. I love it. It's that goofy, not taking itself too serious, but not being spoofy stuff again. Okay, the last one. I hadn't watched this one until a friend of mine that was living with me at the time was like, have you ever seen this? And I was like, no. And then I freaking watched it, and I was like, holy crap, that's awesome. Or was it an ex-girlfriend? Who showed me it first? I don't remember. I know an ex-girlfriend of mine and one of my friends that lived with me both showed me this. I don't remember who done it first. Anyways, it's freaking awesome. It's another thing that was originally a miniseries, and then they made it into like a full-fledged movie. Like the original It. Haven't ever sat down and watched this one. Salem Witch Trials. Picked it up really cheap somewhere. I do remember that much, but I've not actually watched it. Excuse me, sorry about that. Saw 2, Saw 3, Saw 4, Saw 5, Saw 6, and Saw the final chapter. Which wasn't the final chapter, because then Jigsaw came out and now we're waiting on Spiral. I loved these growing up. Not really growing up, I don't remember when the first one originally released, but I remember watching it with my dad, and it was awesome. And I ended up becoming a huge fan of the whole Saw franchise. I do eventually want to get a Billy the Puppet. I also want to get a Jigsaw Death Mask, the Pig Mask, and all that eventually. Got a lot of plans. Not enough money to complete them all right now. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I actually remember the books from when I was a kid, and they were freaking awesome. Them and Goosebumps was my favorite books as a young kid. Middle school was a series of unfortunate events, but yeah. This honestly was pretty good for working within a PG-13 range. It's Guillermo del Toro again, and he is freaking awesome. Yeah, for a PG-13 movie, I actually really liked this one. I'm used to just not really liking PG-13s that much. Scream 1, 2, 3, and 4. It can't be understated that how much the original Scream reinvented the whole horror genre. But 2, 3, 4, 2 was pretty decent. I know 3, it just jumped straight into completely off the rails. I mean, there was a freaking cameo from Jay and Silent Bob. Like, 4, it done some things right, but you just can't beat the original. There's no other way around it. You can't beat the original. I prefer 4 to 3 for sure. S. Darko, I think it's like Stefan Darko or something like that. Again, I bought it for the collection of it, but it's not something that I've actually taken the time to sit down and watch, because I couldn't even complete the first one in one sitting, which some people probably hate me for, but whatever. See No Evil 2. Yeah, these are surprisingly, well, this one was surprisingly good. It's a WWE film, Kane. This one was alright. I wouldn't necessarily say it was as good as the original, but this one was freaking awesome for a horror film made by WWE. It surprised me. But I grew up a wrestling fan, so being a horror fan and a wrestling fan, when I found out Kane was in a horror movie, of course I wanted to watch it. This one's one of them that's not necessarily horror, but it's borderline enough that I'm like, okay, yeah, it goes with the horror movies. And I absolutely love it. 7. And this is the something collector's edition. It's the one that looks like a freaking sketch pad when you take it out. Or not a sketch pad, but a word I can't remember. It's a type of notebook. Then you open it up. It's really cool. Yeah, I loved this movie. My neighbor actually, I don't think I'd ever really sat down and watched it, and my neighbor was like, hey, have you ever watched this? And I was like, no. He's like, you can borrow it. And I was like, alright, cool. So I borrowed it, watched it, loved it. Found a collector's copy myself. Shaun of the Dead. I've seen it a million times. This is a still book. Haven't opened it because I want to keep it in pristine condition. $6.99 on sale at FYE. Freaking crazy. The freaking deals you can get there. The original Shining. As much as, you know, Stephen King didn't like it because it didn't do it right, I loved it. I loved it. It's a classic. Obviously, if you're here, you probably know it. And Shutter Island. Not necessarily horror, but thriller, and I like it. So, anyways, let's go ahead and knock out that last little bit and get this over with. Yeah, fun stuff. Final shelf. The final leg of this journey. Silent Hill. Was good in the time. I don't know if it still holds up. Haven't watched it in a long while. Sinister and Sinister 2. I liked these pretty well. Don't know if I'll go as far as getting a mask for them right now. Maybe down the line in the future. But currently, it's not really high on my list. They were decent enough. I was absolutely just madly fucking happy when I found somebody locally selling this for a pretty decent price. I just recently found out that there was a version of this that had the Red Cross logo on the front before they were forced to remove it. Due to copyright. But this is a survival kit. Sleepaway Camp survival kit. Which is Sleepaway Camp. My English is not doing good. Sleepaway Camp 2 Unhappy Campers, Sleepaway Camp 3 Teenage Wasteland, and then it also has Sleepaway Camp for the Survivor production footage, which was the 4th in the franchise that never got fully made. It's got all kinds of little cool this and that's in there, little tidbit stuff, little info booklets and stuff. It's freaking awesome. Next up, Sleepy Hollow. Classic. Not like a old classic, but still 1999. Christopher Walken, Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci. English. It's freaking awesome. Not necessarily the scariest thing in the world, but whatever. Not everything has to be bloody, gory, scary. I just prefer bloody, gory, scary. Strangers and Strangers Pray at Night. Great. Okay. Just to keep it simple and short. Sweeney Todd, Demon Barber of Fleet Street. I refused to watch this for the longest time. I absolutely love this. I should have not been a punk about it and should have just watched it originally when it first came out. But I was like, oh, it's a musical. I don't like musicals. Oh, it's this, that, and the third. I've learned over the years to kind of broaden my horizons a little bit. Don't mean I don't have preferences, hence why I can prefer certain movies, but I do give things chances now. Because that's part of growing up. Anyways. Oh, here's a whole bunch. Original Texas Chainsaw. Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. Texas Chainsaw Massacre The Next Generation. The 2008 or something like that. I can't see because it's so freaking beat up looking. Either way, the remake of Texas Chainsaw. Texas Chainsaw Massacre The Beginning. And then Texas Chainsaw, also known as Texas Chainsaw 3D. First and second one. The first one was classic horror. The second one was a little bit more on the goofier comedy side. You know, the whole freaking plate. Lick my plate, you dog dick. The third one was just... No, the third one was Leatherface 3. The fourth one, The Next Generation, was just... Matthew McConaughey. That's all I gotta say. The remake was alright. The beginning was just the prequel to the remake. 3D... the supposed twist that you totally don't see coming is weird. Of course, same thing can be said about the Leatherface movie. It just... Yeah. Get him, cuz. Weird. They Live. I've seen it before. Hence why it's still in package. Got it really cheap recently enough that I haven't opened it yet to rewatch it. I don't own the original, and that's a lot of people are going to get mad that I have a horror movie collection and I don't own the original. But The Thing, the remake, I just haven't found one, and I'm not the biggest fan of ordering offline when it comes to the movies, because you're never going to really know if they're in good condition till you get them here, and then half the places won't even let you do a return and stuff like that. So eventually I hope to come across one. 13 Ghosts. This is honestly, growing up watching this as a kid, this was probably one of the scariest movies before I really liked watching scary movies that I'd ever seen. But personally, it's good, but it's also not good. It's one of those ones where it's like, it's not necessarily so bad it's good, it's just, you know, it could have been done better type good. I love it. I can't complain. These, oh man. If you've never seen these, Todd and the Book of Pure Evil. It used to be on Netflix. That's how I first saw it. And I clicked on it honestly because I'm a huge fan of Jay and Silent Bob. I know that's like one of the big reasons I don't like Scream 3 as much, because they had a cameo in that. But it was just them having a cameo in it and the whole aura of the movie. They shouldn't have been in that. But anyways, Jason Mewes plays a janitor in these, and that's what made me initially click on it. But they are raunchy, stupid, teenage, but like really vulgar teenage, stoner, devil weirdness And if you haven't seen them and that sounded at all appealing to you, check these out. They're currently on Shudder streaming. But you can also find these on Amazon for not a horrible price. And I had to have them physically in my collection. There was no question. Trick or Treat. Really slept on originally. Now it's considered a cult classic, cult favorite, whatever you want to call it. I loved it when I first saw it. I still love it. And that's why I bought the big old Sam mask that you can check out in one of my earlier videos. Tucker and Dale vs. Evil Steelbook Edition. I wanted to find one of these so bad. I wanted this in my collection. I could never find it anywhere around here, and then they came out with the Steelbook, and I was able to get my hands on it, and I absolutely freaking love it. This is probably one of my favorite movies. If I was told right now to pick my favorite horror movie, regardless of this not being scary at all, just being purely humorous, this would probably be it. This would be the top of it. I like the way the two main characters are to each other. Reminds me of me and some of my friends. Like, just the goofiness of it all. And then sometimes it's good to just sit back and laugh. This one was made locally. I know pretty much everybody in this on a first name basis. Check it out sometime if you get the chance. Support small time horror. I liked it. Of course, I know everybody in it, so you know it might be a little bit of a jaded opinion on it, but fully autographed copy of 12 Pole Manor. I also have a fully autographed poster up on the wall, and I have a spare of that poster. And I think somewhere I've got like something that was used in the haunted house. The house that was used in this is used as a haunted house. During setup, building the haunted house, they filmed this in the haunted house. And yeah, it's worth a check out if you like horror and want to support some small town horror movies, which they're actually coming out with. At least the guy who directed it also starred in it, along with other people. Him and his fiance, Sam, Jonna, I'm sorry if you see this and I categorized you wrong. It's like 9 o'clock in the morning and I haven't been asleep since yesterday. They've actually put out quite a few newer things that are getting even more attention. And their newest movie, which they're currently funding on Indiegogo right now, called The Hag Witch, is littered with horror royalty. And I just so happen to know him personally, which is pretty cool. Definitely check out 12 Pole Manor. Check out Reunion from Hell. Conversations with the Devil. And the newest one, which is Hag Witch, which is not out yet. It's still in the process of being funded and worked on and made. But if I said any of those wrong, I'm sorry. But they're definitely worth checking out. They definitely have some great ideas, and Sam has an amazing ability at directing, and I'm extremely excited to see The Hag Witch. Anyways, the complete collection of the Twilight Zone. I bought this, and then realized like a day after I ordered it that it was all on Netflix and completely watchable there. I'm pretty sure it was either Netflix or what's the other one I said earlier? The horror movie one. Anyways, I'm pretty sure it was Netflix. So I've not opened this because I'm just been watching it on Netflix, but it's still something that I had to have in my collection. And there was no reason to even attempt to return it. If they're still available whenever I finally catch up on the 1,700 other masks that I want to own, I would like to eventually get the Trick or Treat Studios masks that they currently have out for the Twilight Zone. Us. This and Get Out, Hereditary, and Midsommar are probably some of the most inventive, different kind of horror from the last couple of years. Obviously, This and Get Out done by Jordan Peele, and Midsommar and Hereditary done by somebody else that I currently can't remember. Again, sleep deprived. Done by different people. That's all I was trying to get at there. This one's just enough related to horror stuff that it makes it in here, but it is not the slightest bit of a horror movie. Van Helsing. Liked it as a kid. Has a lot of references to, Dracula, werewolves, and Frankenstein, and all that stuff in it, but, it's a good movie. It's just not horror-esque. And some people probably don't think it's a good movie, but who cares? They're them. I'm me. The Witch, or the Vavitch, it's why it is currently in the V's, because it's actually spelled with 2 V's, but it's called The Witch. This was pretty good. This is another one that I'd put up there. I wouldn't necessarily, in my own ranking, put it as high as Get Out, Us, Midsommar, and Hereditary, but it's still up there in that same general style where it's just completely all about its own universe. Like Midsommar and Hereditary and Us. And okay, yep. Just shut up, Chris. You're stupid and rambling. The Wicker Man. Do believe this one is the remake one. Yeah, 2006. So definitely the remake. I think I have the original in one of the things. I'll have to go back and check. If not, I'll have to get an original. Yeah, this is definitely the remake, because this is Nicolas Cage right across the front. But yeah, this is, of course, the famous "The Bees" line. So yeah. I just picked this one up recently and haven't actually sat down and watched it. Nicolas Cage again. Willy's Wonderland. I know some people don't like it, some people do like it. Again, it's a horror movie, and it was enough on my radar that I said, screw it, might as well go ahead and buy it. Took me a while to do that, but I did. Winchester. Definitely liked this one. Personally, I think it was pretty freaking cool. I've always been kind of fascinated with the Winchester Mystery House. I watched Grim Life Collective. If you've not watched their channel at all, I just recently watched Grim Life Collective. Grim and his, as he so sweetly refers to her, baby ghoul. They went to the Winchester Mystery House and got to do a self-guided tour, which is like, that is a dream of mine, to be able to go to the Winchester Mystery House, much less do a self-guided tour. I would just like to go and get a tour. One day, maybe. Maybe I'll be big enough to visit there one day. Okay. These are made in my home, or not made in my home state. These are based in my home state, although filmed anywhere but my home state. The original 2, maybe 3 were alright. The sequels became crap, and this new one isn't even in my home state. Wrong Turn 1, 2, and 3, which would be Wrong Turn 2, Dead End, Wrong Turn 3, Left 4 Dead. First and second one I know for sure are pretty good. I don't remember if the third one was good or not, but these sequels, other than the fact they're from my home state and they're somewhat gory, they're pretty crappy. Wrong Turn 4, Bloody Beginnings. Wrong Turn 5, Bloodlines. Wrong Turn 6, Last Resort. This is a softcore porn that is slightly dabbled with some weird kind of ritualistic, almost like the what is it, Pact of Thorn or whatever from the later Halloween movies. That's somewhat close to what this one dabbles on, but this is just softcore porn at its finest. And then this one ain't even in my home state. It's a Wrong Turn movie just by name. Don't get me wrong, these Wrong Turns got pretty crappy towards the end. This one has nothing to do with cannibals in any form, which is what the whole series was based off of. This is like some freaking not even post-apocalyptic, but like pre-apocalyptic survival colony people that haven't been in the modern world since way back when, and yada yada yada. And it's pretty, unless I'm just completely off here, this is actually based in Virginia instead of West Virginia. So, like I said, it's nothing to do with the Wrong Turns except for by name. And the very last one. It's kind of funny that this is the very last one, because this is the very first movie me and my wife watched together on our very first date. Because we didn't do anything fancy, because I'm broke as a joke. Or at least was at the time. I'm not rich now, but I'm surviving. We grabbed fast food, came back to my place, put this movie on. And a little over 3 years later, we're still together and we're married. So, yeah. Anyways. Young Frankenstein. Which now this freaking thing has fallen off. But I refuse to get rid of it. Get rid of the cover because I think the cover is freaking cool. Maybe I'll just stick it inside. Anyways, absolutely love Young Frankenstein. It is pure comedy, but it deals with Frankenstein, so hence why it's here. Anyways, if you made it to this point of the video, you have stuck around for what is considerably lengthy. And I appreciate that so much. I appreciate everybody who comes by and watches every single one of these videos, for spending time watching these with me, or watching me in these. And there's not much really I can say other than thank you. Feel free to comment if my opinion didn't match your opinion on certain movies, and we can have a whole debate in the comments about it, or we can make a video or whatever. This is just my personal opinion on all these, so but seriously though, thanks everybody who has checked these out. Drop a like, subscribe if you ain't, comment, tell me why I'm wrong about ones, why I'm right about ones, what ones you think I should put in the collection that ain't already in the collection, and all that stuff. Share this on stuff, I don't care, you know. I'm just trying to make it happen. Just trying to share my horror obsession with everybody. So, thank you all. Have a good day. And I will see you in the next video.